Ladies and gentlemen, the big day is finally here. My name is Petter Kirkeholmen. I'm a former president and I'm also a founding member of FAX. Just want to show you quickly our Nostos magazine. On the first page you will find the program. So if you ever wonder what the program, what's next, take a look at the first page of this magazine. And please respect the speakers and try to refrain from walking in and out during the session as much as possible. And now, for some welcoming remarks, here is Witold from New Direction.
So good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to see that we have a full room. Thank you for coming. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you to the guests. As you know, when we host an event, if it's a success, it's only thanks to you. We give you the ground to enjoy the event. I would like to welcome you on behalf of Tomáš Poremba, MEP and President of New Direction. As you might know, we have important election in Spain, but also in Poland after the summer. Even though I really much enjoy this kind of event, the most important is to win elections. So he couldn't be with us today, but he told me that if we host next Nostos after the EU election, he will join us. As you know, it's our second edition of Nostos. Last year, we focused on the life and the legacy of Sir Roger Scruton, and this year we will focus on the question of freedom and liberties. I think that together with FAX, we selected the best speakers, so I will not elaborate on that topic. They will have the duty to challenge you, but also to answer to your questions, and I hope they will also give you some hints for your life and how to protect your values and your ideas. However, I would like to introduce New Direction. Maybe you don't know what is New Direction, who we are. New Direction is a political foundation. We are affiliated to the ECR group, the conservative group in Brussels, and also the party. We do receive money from the parliament, the EU parliament, so we are not perfect, but I hope we do a good use of that money, because thanks to that, you are all with me today. Our main job is actually to channel these funds. We are like a hub, and we try to pick up the best project that we can find on the market. And Nostos is being a very successful event. Last year it was, I think, one of the best events that we had, and I'm sure that this year we will repeat that exercise. As you know, I said that we are a political foundation. Our members are actually MEPs, so we have one leg in the political world, but also one leg in the think tank world, which can be an added value, but sometimes it's a bit challenging, of course. And I'm very happy to see that a few days ago, the two Finns just joined back their home, the political family, the ECR group. So I think it was a perfect example before having this event of one of the definitions of what can be Nostos. So welcome back to the two Finns, and I hope that next year you will have an even bigger delegation. Having said that, I think it's now very important to say thank you to FAX. I don't know if you already had this feeling when you are teaching something to someone and suddenly you wake up and you realize that actually you are learning from your pupil. It's exactly what happened with FAX. Last year we gave you a lot of hints, but this year I think that we work on the same level, and I think it was thanks to that it was a healthy cooperation. So thank you to Peter, thank you to Hakon. I don't know where you. Thank you very much for your help. I think we should also say thank you to the Roger Scruton Legacy Foundation. We have few speakers from the foundation. Thank you to them. Thank you also for making sure that we have the funds to have this event. They were very helpful as last year. Having said that, I won't like to be much longer. We have now our keynote speech, and I think that Ms. Räsänen will give you a proper example of what is to fight for freedom and how quickly your freedom can be taken from you. So I will give you back the floor, Peter, to introduce our keynote speech. Thank you, enjoy your day, and see you next year, I hope.
Yes, and for the opening keynote speech, a very brave lady. She is a former Minister of the Interior here in Finland, and she was recently in the election re-elected as an MP for the Christian Democratic Party here in Finland. So please welcome Päivi Räsänen.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, it is a great pleasure and honor to be here today with you. And you are also very welcome to my beautiful home country. Right now, we are in the middle of government negotiations in Finland, and the Christian Democrats are negotiating with 3 other more or less conservative parties. And I'm one of our party's main negotiators, and these few weeks have been very intensive. But now I'm very happy to be here with you and participate this very important conference. It is important that we come together to discuss about the foundations of free society during such a time as this, when our basic rights are in many ways questioned. Freedom inevitably comes with responsibility, and Nordic countries have historically been at the forefront of understanding this. I have been a member of parliament over 28 years and also a former minister government, and I'm also by my education medical doctor. As a physician, the ethical questions I came across, especially related to abortions, and they aroused my interest in politics. Defending the life of unborn children has been my top priority as an MP. My dear husband, Niilo, who is here with me today, is a doctor of theology and the principal of the Finnish Lutheran Mission Bible College. And we have 5 grown-up children and 10 grandchildren. And I'm extremely grateful for the steadfast support of my husband and my family during these years. On Freedom House's World Freedom Index, Finns top the chart as the most free country in the world. Finland has also just recently been named the happiest country in the world for the 6th year in a row. And we Finns appreciate freedom highly. We are used to living as a neighbor of Russia, and based on our own history and war with Soviet Union, we understand the situation in Ukraine well. Finland and Russia are separated by a 1,340 kilometer long border. I myself lived my childhood during the Cold War period at a small place just 8 kilometers from the Soviet Union. I remember how we went with my father to fishing to a lake which was half side Soviet Union and half side Finland. But the border between the 2 countries was so hard that I never saw a person from Soviet Union in my childhood. After Russia's aggression to Ukraine, Finland reassessed its security policy situation and applied for NATO membership, and now we are members of NATO. And we are still so thankful that we managed to keep our independence and freedom during these difficult years. So, it is paradoxical that in a country that ranks so well in these freedom evaluations, and we have also long roots in Christianity in this country, and we have a good reputation regarding free speech internationally, I have been criminally charged for voicing my deeply held beliefs that are based on classical Christianity. in fact, making Twitter update from Bible citing. And this means that the same is possible in any country, any Western country. For my own long career as an MP, I have been open about my Christian faith, but the last couple of years have been surprising. In 2021, the Prosecutor General of Finland brought 3 separate charges against me. And I have been in Helsinki District Court twice last year. The District Court issued an unanimous, clear acquittal, but the prosecutors appealed the decision to the appellate court, the higher court. And this court, Court of Appeal, has announced the hearings concerning my statements on classical Christianity, that they will take place this August. The starting point of this process was a tweet that I published just 4 years ago, 2019. And in that tweet, I questioned the Evangelical Lutheran Church's official support to Helsinki Pride, LGBT Pride event. I had a deep concern about the church teaching against its own confession, and that this will undermine people's trust on God's word, which is important for their salvation. And the second charge is about an old pamphlet I had written in 2004, Male and Female, He Created Them. And the third was about my views presented in one humorous radio interview. But the main point was that I posted a photo from the Bible, from the letter to Romans in that Twitter update. The filing of the charges was preceded by 1.5 years of police investigation and several long interrogations, altogether 13 hours. And I can say that the situation felt absurd, crazy, because just a few years ago, I was in charge of the police as a Minister of Interior. And then I was sitting in the police station, interrogated, having the Bible on the table, and the police was asking me about the Bible and its interpretation. I was asked that, what is the message of the book of Romans? What is the message of its first chapter? What does the word sin mean? And so on. In social media, there was a joke that Päivi Räsänen is once again going to have a Bible study at the police station. The police asked each time if I agree to delete within 2 weeks my writings. I answered no. I stand behind these statements, teachings of the Bible. I will not apologize what Apostle Paul has stated, whatever the consequences will be. And in court, I appealed to the Constitution of Finland, to international conventions that guarantee freedom of speech and religion. And the points of view for which I'm accused do not deviate from classical Christianity, what Christians have believed for hundreds of years. Nor does my views on marriage deviate. In fact, the official policy of the Evangelical Lutheran Church of Finland. The practice is another thing. But I have repeatedly emphasized that all human beings are created in the image of God, all have equal dignity, all have human rights and value, but we all are also sinners, and we all need the forgiveness of God because what Jesus has done for us. The freedom of speech is the right to express opinions and ideas without fear of censorship, restraint, or legal sanctions. And free speech is the hallmark of a free society and includes the freedom to express ideas that some may deem hurtful or offensive. There are no mentions to hate speech in our legislation. Of course, there are some limits to freedom of speech, as there are in all countries, but these limitations must be very limited, and they must be very clear to everyone. And when it comes to so-called hate speech laws, I think that the law should be concerned with people who are inciting others to commit violence or some other clear crimes. But speech that some people may find insulting or offensive should not be criminalized. The possible sentence for the crime of ethnic agitation would be 2 years of prison or a fine. In the Finnish law, it falls within the war crimes section of criminal code. And that's why it is just the prosecutor general who is prosecuting these crimes. But an even more dangerous problem is the possibility of being censored in order to remove social media updates or a ban on books or pamphlets. And that sentence would open the floodgates to a ban on similar publications and the threat on modern book burnings. If we do not now use our right to speak freely, the space to use our rights will eventually get even smaller. In court, the prosecutor claimed that Räsänen can believe certain things in her own mind, but she cannot express these opinions. I encountered this same kind of limited understanding of religious freedom when I was a minister, also responsible for church affairs, and had a discussion with the Chinese minister in charge of religious matters. And he said that in China you can believe in your own mind whatever, but it is necessary to restrict the freedom to express your faith if it increases tensions in the society. And I would never have heard the same in the Finnish courtroom. In public, the prosecutor general has stated that although Räsänen was convicted, it doesn't mean that the Bible should be removed from the libraries. You can still refer to the Bible as well as Quran and Mein Kampf, because it is not forbidden to discuss about historical texts. But what is essential is that do you agree with it? And this is an absurd statement. If free speech and freedom of religion prevails, we need to be able to agree with the Bible. Dear friends, we are living at a time when the effect of Christian culture to the society is narrowing. The breaking of the conservative worldview is visible whether we think of the protection of life at the very beginning or at the end of life, or defending marriage as a union between man and wife. The battle between values is largely fought with language and words by capturing the concepts like love, freedom, equality, and even rainbow into new interpretations. The attempt to break down the gender system based on two different genders hurts especially the children. My case involves also wasting taxpayer money and reallocating scant resources away from actual crimes and toward thought crime. And this is happening across Europe. Finland's criminal justice system and laws about incitement are similar to those of most other countries in Europe. All European countries have some kind of hate speech laws that, with the right prosecutor, could be weaponized practically against any form of speech. But it is still strange that just in Finland we have gone so far. Nowadays, it is politically incorrect to say anything negative about, for example, gender ideology, about that there are two genders, male and female. And most European countries are actively pursuing more censorship. Luckily, the European Commission's initiative to extend the list of EU crimes to hate speech has been blocked in the Council. But the file has not been struck down and remains dormant in the dossier of the country negotiators. The Swedish presidency comes to an end in June of this year and will be followed by Spain. I hope that each European state stays strong in this issue, defending the freedom of speech and prevents this proposal moving forward. The rise of cancel culture, the idea of publicly defaming and thrusting a person who holds certain beliefs out of social media or professional circles, is a threat to any free society that claims to be tolerant and equal. So we had the parliamentary elections on April, and I have to say that I'm especially grateful that the unfounded and very public charges against me didn't prevent me from coming re-elected to my 8th period. The theme of the theme of the Christian Democrats' election campaign was voice of sense. Ideological projects have been pushed forward instead of taking care of real life issues. We need people who act as voices of sense. And I believe you to be such people. People who can speak truthfully and act as voices of sense in your societies. I myself, I'm prepared to defend freedom of expression and religion at all necessary levels of justice, even if necessary before the European Court of Human Rights. The decision of the court will be a significant precedent that will impact the legislation within Europe in the future. And a conviction based on the Christian faith is more than only an opinion. The early Christians, they didn't renounce their faiths in lions' caves. Why should we then renounce our conviction in the challenges of this time? I feel privileged to have this calling and honor to defend these foundational rights and everlasting biblical values. And I want to encourage you all to use your foundational rights and be open about your faiths and for your convictions. So, I wish you all courage, wisdom, and blessing in the valuable work you do, and thank you for your attention.